Okay, it's the third weekend in July. We're going to take a look at the garden here. It's probably been 2 weeks since I last did a video. A lot has changed. A whole lot has changed. So probably the biggest would be the squash, of course. They've gone crazy. And then me cleaning out the tomatoes. So this was basically a huge mess all along both the front and the back, and so I came in and spent a couple hours clearing that out, taking some of the stuff off the bottom so the leaves aren't touching the ground, and thinning them out a bunch and clipping everything to the fence so that way things aren't laying around and whatnot. So it looks a lot neater. It'll be a lot easier to see what's going on and see the fruit as well, hopefully. So anyway, here we go. So these were all the volunteer tomatoes. I took one of them out because it was too far from the fence and it was too close to the others. So just did that. We've got lots of flowers on these, and then a couple of them have fruit forming there. And once again, I have no idea what these are. Probably one of the fruit or the tomato varieties that was there, but we never can tell because there's tomatoes coming up all over the place, even where there weren't any planted. So we'll see what this is whenever they come out, but there's quite a few of them on this big plant here. This is the biggest plant that I have in the garden, and once again it was a volunteer. So ended up with 5 volunteer plants there, and we'll just see how they go. And then over next is these were 5 different varieties that we started as seedlings in the house and transplanted out. Once again, when I transplanted them out here from our seedlings, they were about 3 or 4 inches. And they've all survived. The one that has in the same 5 grouping there in the same order, and I can't remember what the order is, but they've all done fairly well, except the one in the end got broken, probably with the hoses, and so it died. And in its place, I transplanted a squash, that volunteer squash that popped up somewhere, put it over there. The exception to the tomatoes doing really well is the one in the 4th position. So that one right there and this one right here, and you can see exactly what I'm talking about when you look and step back and look. It's about a third or half to a third of the height of its brothers there, and those were from Romas and seeds that I had saved myself versus commercially available seeds. So I don't know what that says about my seed practice, saving seed practice or whatnot, but anyway, that's what it is. So the Romas are the 2 that are lagging behind. So we'll just have to examine that and maybe do a little better job with the seed saving, or I don't know. Anyway, those are looking great. Like I said, I thinned all this stuff off, pulled the stuff off the bottom so the leaves aren't dragging the ground. I've read that that's a good way to prevent some diseases and blight. And most of the leaves anyway were kind of crunchy and black and yucky. Plus it helps you to see exactly how many plants there are and kind of where things are going, and it helps to be able to kind of get things going. So pinned them all up there again and thinned them out. So I don't believe I saw any fruit forming yet, but lots of flowers. So, and then hopefully with all the shaking that I did, moving them, it'll help them to be fertilized, and we'll have some fruit setting there soon. This one does have some fruit set here. This one in the 1st position here. Once again, I have to break out the old paper and see which ones were where, but it's exciting to get that all cleaned up and able to be managed. Then on the back side here, we have our, we had end up with 3 plants that popped up. This is the bitter melon. It's an Asian vegetable, and you can see them forming right here. There's some of the little ovaries that'll hopefully become fruit. They look almost like cucumbers in this stage. I'm honestly not sure what they look like when they actually form. I've never grown them before, so we'll see. Here's some cilantro popping up. Here's a volunteer squash popped up. We'll just see what happens with it. There was a volunteer tomato that I transplanted here, but it didn't make it. So this is our melons box. This was a watermelon that I started from seed a month before a transplant. I transplanted out. These are some I direct sowed, and as of now you can't really tell much of a difference. There was a time when you could, but really it's fairly even, about the same height here. Cilantro, that was obviously a volunteer, it's already popped up, started going to seed because of the heat. And these were some cantaloupe that we bought at the store, and I planted direct seeded them there, and they've done great, so we'll see how they go. And the thing about this watermelon is the watermelon that I transplanted from seed to the south side of the house is, if I moved it out here, it would be above this fence and 4 feet wide. It's just amazing how well it's done on the south side. I don't know if it's because it gets better light, if it gets because it gets uninterrupted light, no shade, and lots of heat, but I don't know. But that's why we plant things in different places. Here's our winter squash. This is Sunburst. That was one that I started inside, transplanted out here, and these two I did direct seed. Had issue with some squash bugs. That's why this one's fading back. It was holding its own for a bit. It had a good head start on the ones from seed, but now the squash bugs got it. I did come out and kill them and found some leaves or eggs on each one of them. I tried to eradicate them, but it's a never-ending battle. But I don't know. This branch is definitely dead, but this one might be able to make it. It's got some crappy leaves, but it's got some good leaves too, so we'll see. That one's not really, just kind of hanging out, but this one's thriving, and so hopefully the damage that was done to all of them by the squash bugs won't be fatal. And then on this side we have the beans. These are the Chinese long noodle beans. They're doing okay. They haven't put any flowers up and whatnot, but they're doing okay. These are the red scarlet runner beans, or the scarlet runner beans, and they started off really great, and then they kind of slowed down, I think because of the heat, and gotten some crunchy leaves. So we'll see how they're gonna do. And then these are tomatoes. So what we did was I planted them in pairs. One of them died, but all the rest have survived, except for right here was 2 Romas. Once again, the Romas did not do well. I got rid of them because they were just done, and I bought some, I should say one. This was a Roma. Sorry, there was a Roma plant there, it died, so I planted an Amish paste that I got from the store here, and then 2 of them there and 1 of them in front. So this one was a transplant bought from the store. The rest were all from seedlings that I transferred from the house, and so it's pretty amazing the difference here. So they're all doing well. Once again, I try to clean a bunch of stuff off the bottom so I could see all the leaves gone and see things, pin them up, so hopefully we'll have a good healthy crop of tomatoes and we'll be able to see things are going. You can see that there are some fruit here. There's some fruit on the Amish paste. I don't think I saw any others. The other tomatoes, flowers, but not fruit yet. So then here we have our tomato row. There's 4 Romas that we bought from the store, and then I had planted some seedlings in there, and they died, most of them except for the one on the end. And so I ended up putting the 2 Amish paste there, and then that one was actually one of the ones that I transplanted from the house and actually survived out here. So the Amish paste are doing good. The Romas are doing good too. I'm trying this new kind of a modified Florida weave to keep the tomatoes in like a channel there. That way you don't have to cage them, net them and stuff, and see how it works. It's kind of been a pain in the butt, but I didn't quite do it right. I redid it again today, put some more lines on there, and also tightened up the bottom ones and redid them. So it's been a learning experience, of course. But I might just do what I do there, just put up some line, some netting or whatnot from there to there, and run them up there. It's a lot easier to just pin them to the netting than it is to try and fight with this. So we'll have to see. But I have tons and tons of Roma tomatoes, and they're big. Big, big, big. None of them ready yet, but tons of them. Absolutely crazy. It's gonna be awesome when they pop off, and there are just a ton, and huge too. So that's pretty exciting. And it's even more exciting that you can see them and, you know, pick them. So potatoes are here. 2 of the peppers. That was nice that when I adjusted this, it took this off here because you couldn't see it. But there's some, these are going to be red peppers. There's 3 fruit on there. 1 set there. There's our basil. Potatoes dying back. This was our sunburst. The only seedling that was survived. It had grown really tall, had a broken neck. We didn't think it was going to make it. Its neck is still kind of broken, but I put it on the ground there and it's fine. And it's covered up with dirt right now. But this is 1 plant. It's ginormous. So it and the zucchini I both spent a couple hours on yesterday morning or the night before, trimming them back, pruning them, getting rid of some of the dead leaves, and of course trying to assassinate all the squash bugs. You can see right now that with the sunburst there are fruits on it. There's 1, 2, 3 of them that are harvestable either today or tomorrow, and there's 1 that's on its way, 1 that's on its way back there, and then 1 over there, and there's another flower that'll hopefully, female flower that'll hopefully become one. And what I'm gonna do is try and prune the leaves on the bottom there to keep it contained, not have it mess with the eggplant too much, and we'll see how that goes. So these are the eggplant. This one hasn't really put out, I haven't seen any fruit on it. It's been just growing tall, and that might be because it's in between the squash and the tomato wall, so it's been having to compete. This one's been spreading out and has a really nice fruit on it. There's a giant one right there. It's going to be ready soon. This is corn that I had planted a few weeks ago. Finally started popping up, so I got all these up here. We'll just have to keep on them and see how they do. And then over here we have the rest of our eggplant. There's 4 of the traditional long eggplant, or gourmet oriental or something like that. All of them, all these 4 have fruit. They're all, there's some there, and there, back there, so they all have some, which is good. The Black Beauty there has a pretty good size one, and that's another Black Beauty, doesn't have any fruit set on it yet. And those are the zucchini. I planted 3 of them, really close together. I'm going to try to stake them up and see how that goes. This little guy's having a hard time. This one's doing well over here on the right, and this one in the middle actually had 2 of them come up. And so it's been really hogging things. So I've had to kind of prune it back a bit, because a lot actually, because it was coming over here, shading out the eggplant, doing all this. So it's been crazy. We'll take a look on that on the other side. So here's the bush beans. These are the purple ones. These gorgeous little flowers. And here's one of their beans. We got a few of those off of there. Some off of our other little patch we planted somewhere else, but we've had some good little bush beans. Haven't tried them yet. There's our okra. We had about 3 okra planted out here. There's a tiny little plant with a giant okra on it. Looks weird, but fantastic. The peppers are looking okay. Basil's looking great. It came back. I was really worried about it, but it's doing just fine. And then our kale and our lettuce stuff is still kicking. Even this lettuce here hasn't gone to seed. That's great. It's normally, bolted long ago. It's this like butter crunch stuff. It's gotten really tall. This other stuff's in here. Can't even see it hardly, but it's doing okay. Especially with all the heat. Figured, definitely it would have bolted, but it hasn't. So we're gonna keep going on it and keep it in there as long as we can. And the kale, very small. We didn't let it get too big this year. You can see kind of how I've been going about it. From the bottom up, just keep taking the bottom, leaving those leaves in the center, and making it grow up to have a nice stalk like that. That way the leaves stay tiny and tender. And then, okay, all this stuff, more basil. So here's our small zucchini. There's a little zucchini forming on it there. As I was taking my pictures before the video, I found a squash bug there, so I got to kill him. That was great. And of course makes me look through all the other plants to see if there's more of them hiding out. But I didn't find any more. So here you can see kind of what I've been doing. So these are the two big ones, and they each have a big fruit on them, which we'll pick today or tomorrow. And then little fruits, more little fruits. But what I'm going to do is start to come up the stem here and to prune it to the stem, basically take off the leaves, the old leaves and the fruit, and make it more not so space dominant. It's not such a space hog. And so that's going to be my plan, and that way I can put a stake here in the ground and kind of have it go up there. And I've seen pictures of it, so hopefully it'll go that way and be able to get a few squash plant in a smaller space rather than just one sprawling out all over the place. And so we've got about 6 or 8 of these zucchini in the past week off of these plants. It's been fantastic. Got a couple more there, and there's one growing on the left side right there. And yeah, looking very happy with the zucchini so far. Hopefully we can just maintain its sprawl and get it going where we need to go. That way we can keep harvesting and not have it take over the entire garden. And that, I believe, is it. You can see the pretty flowers of the cantaloupe on the back side. There's the watermelon flowers. And that's it for this week. So, cleaned up the tomatoes. We have a lot of the aromas, tons of the aromas setting. And lots of zucchini. So, anyway, that's the garden this week. See you next time.